Hey folks, it's Owen here from the Scottish History Podcast. What I'm going to do is something a bit different, something I've not done before in a way. I'm going to give a wee reaction to this video. Sorry, everything's all backwards. Alan from Our History, Your Story did an episode of his kind of blog thing about Livingston, the town that I was from, where I grew up. And yeah, I was supposed to be part of the video. We'd kind of arranged it for a couple of weeks, and a couple of weeks ago, and then there was just too much stuff going on, and then I ended up with COVID. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to watch the video along with you, and maybe just kind of like talk about some of the places where he is, and kind of give my memories of kind of living in Livingston, because Livingston was a great wee town back in the day. Still is a great wee town, but it was pretty good back in the day, and I just want to see how this kind of thing works out, and I like doing daft stuff. So yeah, let's watch Alan's Livingston history video.
Hi everyone, Alan here, Our History, Your Story. Today, as part of a local world history series, I'm going to tell you all about the town of Livingston. People might think that Livingston is a relatively new place. However, it has a history going back to at least the 1100s. And it all started here at the Peel of Livingston. And see that mound just behind me? That used to be a big sort of tower house castle. And the reason it was put there was because these lands here were granted to a gentleman, a Flemish noble, called De Leaving, and he was granted these lands here to because of military service that he conducted for King David I of Scotland. Now eventually, after he built this tower, there was a settlement that was built around it. This settlement was called Livingston, and eventually, obviously, that became Livingston. Now I should probably not admit this, but I used to believe that Livingston was named after David Livingston, but not so.
So, yeah, I grew up not too far away from here. I think my mum and dad's house, like where they live now, is kind of just over the back of this wee hill, behind this kind of mound bit. So this was known as the Peel, and I went to Peel Primary School in Livingston. So just behind this wee mound here, there was the Folly Burn, which was like this little stream that the school, so that Peel Primary built and dug out, and we had to go and do it every year. And yeah, it doesn't exist anymore. There was like a walkway and stuff like that. But I remember them like putting this up. Like, I mean, it was always there, I suppose. But I remember them like building you can see like steps in the background, like here and here. And it was just, yeah, because we used to play here all the time when I was a kid, and there was like maybe just behind Alan, round about there-ish, there was like kind of the remains of a house, which I think was technically the Peel house, and up until they did that work, I don't ever remember that existing. So I think they must have uncovered it. But we used to go and get conkers from the trees. My friend Gerald used to live kind of like behind where not where Alan, but basically in the direction where Alan's standing. And I used to cycle around these paths all the time. There was a couple of little play parks and stuff like that. There was also the Curly Bridge, not too far away from there, which is, it's just a bridge over the kind of one of the main roads, but it's curved at one end, so we called it the Curly Bridge. Yeah, just a bit daft, but yeah, I think a lot of people did think that Livingston was named after David Livingston, but David Livingston's name is spelt with an E on the end, which is what a lot of people do. Like, the kind of common misconception is there is an E on the end of Livingston, but as Alan said, it was Livingston, which is kind of where the kind of name came from. So we'll watch on a wee bit and see what we've got.
This is Livingston Village. Now,
The Livy Inn. Sorry to cut you off there, Alan, but the Livy Inn. I have been so drunk in this pub on so many different occasions. The most recent time being the night before my brother's wedding. So the Livy Inn is, so we call it the Livy Inn, so Livingston, just knock off the NGSTON, and it's just Livy. We've always called it Livy. But it is one of the best pubs and one of the best. You get some really, really amazing food in there. The steaks are amazing. But yeah, it was kind of like the old coach house. So this kind of building on the right of the screen was the old stables. You can still see the old stable doors. But yeah, sorry.
As mentioned, there was a Livingston. Now this village takes its name from that Livingston Village. Now the village is around 300 years old. And this inn behind me, Livingston Inn, was built around 1760. I'm pretty sure it says that on the sign anyway. Anyway, so inns like this were used on people travelling from Glasgow to Edinburgh or Edinburgh to Glasgow. So many weary travellers came here to seek some respite, stay overnight. And one of those travellers was Robert Burns. And when he stayed here, he loved it so much, he wrote The Bonnie Lass of Livingston.
So with the Livy Inn, so Livingston is not equidistant, but it's kind of almost equidistant between Edinburgh and Glasgow. So say it was a 2 or 3 day journey from Glasgow to Edinburgh or vice versa, you would kind of be forced to stop in Livingston overnight to stable up or whatever. So the Livy Inn has been there for years, as evidence, 1760. Robbie Burns did indeed. He stayed in one of the rooms up the stairs. Fell in love with a lassie. I say fell in love with, we'll just pretend he fell in love with her. But yeah, he ended up writing a song about her.
The local area has seen many industries over the years. Now originally Livingston Village was used...
Now, sorry, just while I notice this telephone box in the background, my mum is going to kill me for telling you this. But this phone box in the background, when I was a little scamp, I say a little scamp, I was over 18 because I was drinking so we'd been in drinking in the Livy Inn, and somehow we'd managed to get a hold of some fireworks, and we set off some fireworks in that phone booth one night, and I mean it was hilarious at the time, but yeah, definitely a very bad
as more
decision.
of a farming community. Now later on there was other industries that came and went, but the most prominent was shale. Livingston was developed as the fourth new town that was put in place by the Newtown Act. Now, the whole sort of planning for Livingston was that they didn't want to create sort of big sort of urban condensed areas. They wanted it to be a bit more of an urban sprawl. Lots of green areas, lots of places for people to stay. Just, a chance for something a bit different from the areas that people had been in the big cities. And I think Livingston's definitely sort of done that. There's lots of green areas, there's lots of parks, lots of underpasses. So a lot of the places is pedestrianised. They also put in a number of sort of art installations in the different communities within Livingston in order to sort of promote sort of community spirit, promote higher ideals. I'm here just now in Craigshill, and the reason I'm here is because I really like this mural that was painted by Offbeat and developed to promote the spirit of Craigshill.
Craigshill, crazy hill. Yeah. So what you've got here, so just behind Alan's head, this viaduct is kind of the West Lothian Council's kind of thing. What do you call it? Like emblem, I suppose. Then of course you've got the Livingston Football Club badge over here in the corner, very nicely done. This is actually a sort of an art installation which is in the middle of a roundabout, which I think is at Deer Park, just off of the M8 motorway. Remember right, you got the fire station, the Craigshill fire station. So Craigshill was kind of like the first place to be built in Livingston. So as Alan said, it was part of the Newtown initiative. There was 5 new towns in total. So Livingston, Kirkcaldy, Cumbernauld, Irvine, and Glenrothes. That's it. Livingston was kind of really the only one that succeeded in a way. That kind of people still kind of build up in a way, like it's always constantly being built up, and there's like loads of shops and stuff like that. So yeah, the Livingston kind of succeeded, whereas the other ones didn't necessarily fail, but they didn't quite come to the same prominence as Livingston did.
There are a number of stately homes in the area that is now Livingston, or as we might call them, Big Hoosies.
Big Hoosies.
Now these, let me see if I can remember them. There is Muirston, Knightsridge, Alderston. I think there's another one I'm forgetting. But anyway, the
I
one
don't think
behind
so.
me at Howden is my favourite. Howden House. And I think the reason is
Howden House was like the creepy haunted house when we were young. Because behind this is Howden Park Centre, which is where like kind of a lot of art installations and stuff. They've recently done it up, and then I think that's why they did Howden House back up again. These are all flats now. So there's like each one's kind of individual departments and stuff like that. But yeah, this was all boarded up for years and years and years, and it was like the creepiest haunted house. Never got inside, like, but it was, yeah, we all called it the haunted house.
it's my favourite is because sort of the sort of civic uses it's had over the years. Now, it was built in 1770, and it had a lot of famous people or members of upper society. Well, not famous people, but their children. So, I think the son of Sir Henry Raeburn, the artist, he had this house, and the daughter of James Young of the Paraffin fame, his daughter lived here. Many civic uses it's had over the years are that it was used as a building for the Ministry of Agriculture, and that was used from 1949 until 1966. Then after that, it was bought by the Livingston Development Corporation, who used it after 1966, and they used it as a community centre. Now after this, later on, it fell into a bit of rack and ruin, and in 2012, I believe, it was sold to a developer. And before that, it was boarded up, rack and ruin, graffiti, not so good. Now today, it sits behind me, as you can see, sitting majestically in Howden Park. So it's nice, but I can't help feel that it could have been used for more civic purposes.
I'm sure the lassie that walked out of our house was
Livingston Skate Park has been an original hotspot for those who pursue skating. And people have always loved it, and it was built back in 1981, and it's had extensions built in the 90s and in 2013. My brother even, 20-some years ago, shattered his ankle at this skate park. I don't know what he was doing, and to be honest, I'm not sure he does either. Now, some of you...
To be honest, I think if you don't know someone personally who has broken something or shattered something at the skate park, then you haven't actually lived in Livingston. There's a big bowl, so like a big kind of skater. If you know your skater terms, then you'll know what that is. So basically, a big kind of dipping bowl in the background, and everybody used to like fly down there and break their ankle. Thankfully, I never did, but I know a couple of folk that did. I always wanted to learn how to skate, but yeah, I never did. My balance isn't great, so. Yeah, the skate park. So Alan's going to go on and tell you a little bit more about it, but I think he misses the fact that Tony Hawk, the famous skateboarder, he actually skated at Livingston Skate Park either in the very late 80s or the very early 90s.
You might ask, what am I doing talking about a skate park? Does it even really have historical value?
Yes.
Well, yes, it does as it comes, and the town is even proposing that the skate park gains historical status.
Excellent.
The statue behind me is called Community, and my interpretation of it is that, through community, as individuals, we can all get higher than what we ever thought we would. And I think Livingston is a testament to that, from its early inceptions of the peel of Livingston, to the village and the new town, and get this, potentially a city. Yeah. As part of the Queen's Platinum Jubilee celebrations next year, the people of Livingston have put in for Livingston to be a city, so who knows? And what might be on the cards for Livingston's future? Well, do you know what? Maybe think Livingston FC will get a few more trophies in that cabinet.
No, we won't.
Maybe the college, which is just along the road, West Lothian College, will become a university college, and then a university. Who knows one day? Anyway, this has been Our History, Your Story. I've been Alan.
We'll leave it there, Alan, because I know what's coming up next after that. But yeah, Livingston is a great little town. It's not necessarily a touristy place. I wouldn't ever say that tourists should ever come along unless you like shopping and terrible football. But if you do come through, get yourself a few pints at the Livy Inn, and then maybe wander along on a Saturday and maybe see Livingston play, then go to the famous Tony Macaroni Stadium, and then venture up the road to Tony Macaroni itself for some just horrific food. And then from there, go shopping at the shopping centre, and then maybe drink some more at the Weatherspoons. Don't go to Pretzel. Pretzel's disgusting. But yeah. So I think that kind of covers most of Livingston. There's a couple of other great places. The Avon Valley Heritage Centre and stuff like that's brilliant. The Shale Oil Museum, the National Shale Oil Museum, is there too. So myself and Alan are hopefully going to combine together and make a kind of proper video together at some point in the future. So hopefully that will come out soon. But I hope you enjoyed this kind of wee thing. It was just kind of a bit of a laugh just to see. I'm kind of working with videos and stuff like that now. So yeah, cheers very much for the shout out at the end as well, Alan. It was very, very kind of you. So if you haven't already, go and subscribe to Alan's channel. It's Our History, Your Story on YouTube, and he's got plenty of great videos that tell you a little bit more about the local history to where we grew up in West Lothian. So take care, folks. I'll see you again next time.